How's it going, guys? I know it's been like 6 years since I've made a video probably, but this is my most recent purchase. It's a 1975 Chevy Cheyenne C20 trailering special. I found it on Craigslist and I got it for a pretty good deal. It's definitely got some rust. Underneath it's super clean though. The frame is perfect. And trailering special, I've seen a lot more camper specials, so to see a trailering special, that's pretty cool, and they don't think they were nearly as common. It's got the call out here, which is a pretty cool little logo, and it's a Cheyenne, so it's the higher trim level, so it's got this strip behind the cab, and then it's got all the body trim and the trim on the tailgate as well. Now, it's the guy I bought it from, he was the son of the original owner, so the truck only has 73,000 miles on it, which is pretty cool. Like I said, underneath is super clean, but the body definitely has some rust issues, as you can see here. Most of it is surface kind of stuff, and the dude did like a rattle can touch-up before I bought it, and since I bought it, that stuff is kind of resurfaced. This is definitely one of the worst spots. But, you know, all this stuff is replaceable. A lot of this kind of stuff, today my plan is to take off this trim and kind of clean up the rust and get some primer on it just so it's better protected. The worst spots on the truck are probably, oddly enough, this driver's side rocker is almost perfect. Definitely surface stuff, and there's two little holes there, but not bad. That's one of the worst spots, this lower fender. I the other week dug out about 5 pounds of bottom that had just been shoved up there and was just holding dirt and leaves and crap, so got all that out. It's got these big tow mirrors, which are cool. Then up under the hood we got this, and let me open it. Then under the hood we have that, so the hood is a real pain to close because of that, so it bends in, and you got to close it just right for the latch, so that definitely needs to be addressed. But you know, when you open and close the hood, you can hear rust rolling around inside there. So whether I just replace the hood completely, because you can see all along here it's kind of rusted, or try to fix it, I haven't decided yet, but that's for later. It's got a 350 with a turbo 350 trans. Runs really strong. Definitely needs a carb rebuild for sure. It's the original 4-barrel quad jet. But for going around town and stuff, it's been okay, but it definitely needs a rebuild. I'm going to upgrade the intake and carb though this summer is the plan, because I can get a little more power out of it. Eventually I'm going to do heads and cam and all that good stuff, but for right now I'm just doing some basic stuff just so it can be a good, reliable drive around truck. A little rust on the firewall, nothing too severe. I've replaced all the the hoses and belts and stuff, so that's all new. There's a couple more hoses. I need to replace those heater hoses, but I was just trying to do all the basic maintenance stuff. I replaced plugs, wires, cleaned up the contacts in the distributor. I want to replace the distributor eventually too. The radiator seems okay. There's a pretty good amount of dirt, so I think I may get it re-cored or replaced. I haven't decided yet. But everything else works. It's got dual batteries and a heavier duty alternator because of the trailering package, which is pretty cool. Like I said, it's a C20 Cheyenne. It definitely needs all new shocks, and I'm going to replace the springs in the front with heavy duty springs to level it. There's got a little bit of a rake from the factory, but I think it looks better when they're more level, so that's an easy job to do, so I'm going to do that as well. The tires and rims I recently got, when I bought it, it had 16.5-inch rims with these old, like 30-year-old bias plies, so that was no good. And 16.5 size rims are real hard to find tires for, so I went to the junkyard and found a set of 4 8-lug rims that would fit a Chevy. And I repainted them and sanded them, but the rest all coming through because I just got them real cheap and I was trying to do a quick job, so I didn't really take my time. Eventually I want to get a set of powder coated rims, but for now I just needed something that I could get a good tire on. And these BF Goodrich all-terrains are great. They're really good in the snow and they're nice and knobby, so I think they look real good on this truck. Like I said, some more of the rust that's kind of coming through. I'm gonna sand it all, wet sand it. Eventually, I don't know if I'll paint it, but I can definitely clean it up so it looks a heck of a lot better. The guy, like I said, did a rattle cams touch up and got paint all over the trim and stuff. So I'm gonna take all the trim off and shine it up and repaint. That should be black in the middle there, but it's all faded out. So I'm just gonna do kind of a redneck restoration type of thing, just so it's a good runner and driver and looks halfway decent. A little bit of rust there behind the wheel. This wheel well is the only one that's pretty much totally good. So I'm gonna do my best to preserve that. And then the worst spots are probably right here under this rocker. You can see that one's rusted out. And then up there on the fender. Same thing, I dug a bunch of Bondo out of there that was done real poorly. Also this side view mirror was off when I bought it. He said he took it off to fit in his garage, but he definitely backed into something and ripped it off because the holes were all wallered out and it's been dented. But I got it back on there with some bigger bolts. I've had the truck for a couple months now, and actually in that time someone has tried to steal it. They somehow managed to, I don't know if you can tell, this is dented in, so they somehow got that in there, unlocked this door. I'll take you around to the inside, which is pretty clean on the interior. I got a bunch of tools that I hit the brakes too hard and they all flew forward, so I got to clean that up. But on the inside, it's real clean for the most part. There's just one little rip in the seat, and then you see the dash. It just got dummy gauges. You can see 73, 989. Non-AC truck, so it has no vents. Although I don't know if that was available. It was like that on all these trucks, or just non-AC trucks had the trucks with no vents in the dash. There are under dash vents for heat and then defrost. But as you can see here, someone tried to dig in. They ripped off this tab that goes on there, and you can see they kind of were trying to get the ignition out with a screwdriver or something, chipped it all away, so now that looks crappy, so I gotta replace that. Luckily though, they didn't actually steal a truck, so I guess I gotta count myself lucky. But like inside's real clean, the floorboards underneath are super clean, carpet definitely needs replaced. So it just needs a lot of stuff like that because it's sat for like 10 or 15 years in this dude's garage before I bought it. Back in the bed. Tailgate's in pretty good shape for the most part, other than some of that rust. I lubed it all up and got all the hinges working properly because it kept opening up on me when I would drive down the road and hit a bump, so I got that taken care of. And the bed itself, I still need to dig out that Bondo. I'm guessing those are probably holes. Over on the sides, you can see it's in real good shape. Unfortunately, the middle of the bed isn't the best because this dude had these big heavy rubber mats sitting in it to keep stuff from sliding around. The problem is that all they did was hold dirt and moisture and mud. So when I took it out, you know, there was about an inch of mud covering everything and it was all rusted out like this. I considered if I wanted to put a roll-in bed liner, but I really like the idea of the truck being, or the bed being the same color as the truck. I like when the bed's like that, so I may just try to kind of sand it down, take care of the rust and touch it up some. I haven't decided yet, but that's kind of later on the list of priorities. Otherwise, you know, just needs a lot of like little stuff where there's all this overspray and crap and it just needs a good cleaning up. So should be a fun project, and my plan is to kind of document the whole thing because there's a lot of fun stuff to do on it. And but you know, for being a truck that's been sitting for 15 years, it's driven and does really well, aside from needing some basic tune-up stuff. You know, I've driven it on several hour-plus long trips, and it's done great. It does burn a little oil, and is losing coolant a little bit. So these are all things I'll need to address, but as I've been driving it, some things work themselves out, and then you kind of get an idea of what you need to do. So I will keep you guys updated with the progress and trying to get this truck cleaned up and running a little bit better. So thanks for stopping in, guys. I'll talk to you later. Alright, made a little bit of progress. I took all the trim off. I just kind of picked the spot to start, so I'm starting with the bed. And as you can see, basically I've just been attacking the worst rust spots and grinding them down. Under this, that's not great. So obviously that's going to need to be replaced with a new patch panel. Which I'll do later on. Right now, I'm just trying to keep it from rusting any more than it is. So I've just kind of knocked down all the big stuff, and I've hit all the major rust spots. There's some holes that have shown up. I don't have the best grinding wheel. It's not taking the paint off and rust as quickly and as nicely as I'd like, but I guess good enough for the time being. It's down to the metal. It's just not quite shiny because it's pitted, and but it's plenty fine to take some paint and protect it for the time being. So like I said, it's definitely rusty, but not unfixable. Like I said, under here, surface rust, but solid. There's a hole there. So little patches can be made. It's rough, and I can't seem to get it down to totally bare metal, but it should be good enough for the primer I got. It's gonna have to be repainted. Anyways, like I said, this is kind of a quick and down and dirty cleanup, just so it looks a little bit more presentable. I also dug out that Bondo here, so you can see there's a hole there and a hole there, which will need to be patched. It had like this, like aluminum kind of stuff underneath it, and then they packed the Bondo on top of it. But in the bed, those two spots are the worst. So there was a bunch of dirt and crap behind that trim, so it needed to be done regardless. But it's coming along, and it's going to look crappy with a bunch of primer all over it, but it's a work in progress. It's a project truck, so I'll let you know when I get some more done. Alright, here's the I won't say finished product, but where I'm at so far. It looks like crap, yes, but it is no longer rusty, aside from the wheel well, of course. But at least the big major rust spots are not going to get worse. It's all ground down, and it's got a couple coats of primer on it, just to keep it nice and protected. I mean, it really looks like crap, but I prefer this over rust just getting worse and worse. And I don't know, I'm going to try to clean up that those rust strips from those spots off, so at least that looks a little better. But it's work in progress, so that's to be expected. So next step, I'm probably going to just stick with the bed for right now, because the bed's really, this is actually the worst part of the truck, this driver's side of the bed. Passenger side isn't nearly as bad, so I shouldn't, it won't look this bad when I touch it up with paint. Same thing with like the doors are pretty good, aside from those parts of the fender. So this was definitely the worst spot. So I'm just going to kind of keep chipping away at it and making progress. So I'll bring you guys back the next time I'm doing more. See ya.